friends, welcome back to the Film Alchemist podcast. Welcome back to the October Mega Marathon, 31 days, 31 pods. Welcome back to the conflict to save mankind and his soul in the earth, kind of. Unless you're a baby, then fuck you. We're here today to talk about the final conflict, the Omen III. Thank you guys for returning. I'm your host, Josh Grivy, joined as always by my friend, co-host,
Alex Dandino. Wow, you didn't...
See, I was doing dramatic pause. See,
okay,
I was going to let the beast name himself. Like an old-timey monk, I was letting the beast name himself.
I thought you were, like, doing some quiet Gregorian chant to, like, build up to me just saying my new...
Gregorian. No, there's not even chants in this movie. Never mind. I think here. We're going to watch the movies we love and break them apart. You guys know what we do here. We are so ecstatic to be doing the October Mega Marathon. It's always fun. Guys, this is a game you can do. Listen to us at the start and then watch us slowly break down, wither, and, turn to madness like a cultist in an H.P. Lovecraft book by the end of the month. We are here today to continue our journey. The first half of the month, we always like to start with entire franchise runs. So we're doing the Omen first. Then the X trilogy with friend and amazing co-host Carmelita Valdez McCoy. Woo. The third Film Alchemist. We love her dearly. Thank you for that. And Critters with Carmelita as well. Woo. Lots of fun stuff, guys. This is important. We do so much work to make this month and this event happen. We need to ask some help. Guys, if you have horror movie loving friends, this is the perfect month to shoot them a text, an email, an old-timey chain letter, whatever you do to communicate. Let them know what we're doing here. Share an episode with them. Let's do some real grassroots fundraising.
We both know your friends have the pods they listen to. I get it. I have the shows that I listen to. I don't like when people say, oh, you should listen to this. You'd really enjoy it because, like, how the hell do you know? You don't know what I like to listen to.
Wow.
But just do that, okay?
You know
be
what?
That person. Be so bold.
There are some of us who are what you would call ultra pod listeners. And we never have enough pods to listen to.
There's never enough pods to listen to, so why not add this one to your repertoire?
Just see, dude. Let them know. Let them know we're here, guys.
Listen,
we are relying on you to help us out. We also are relying on you.
Subscribing is free.
Subscribing is free. We're relying on you to go to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod.
Which is
your
not
support.
free.
That is not free. Your support over there ensures that you will get the 3 Patreon exclusive episodes. You'll have all 31. Why do you want 28? Get the 31. You're already that far. Be a completionist. The support over there is the lifeblood for pods like us, guys. It means the world to us for your support. We do a lot of work over there. Patreon exclusive libraries ever growing. Tales from the Crypt miniseries. The first 4 seasons of Tales from the Crypt are there for you. We also do, you can have us program a double feature you want, feature-length commentaries. We work very hard over there. We have a wonderful community of friends. And especially this month, guys, if you could show us some love, patreon.com/filmalchemistpod, the best way to do that. The email, filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. You can find us on all the socials you're on, especially TikTok. That helps us out a ton. So you can see little micro clips, share all that good stuff. We also are on YouTube, Film Alchemist. You can subscribe over there. That means the world to us. Make sure you're leaving 5-star ratings and reviews wherever you find pods. That helps us out a ton, believe it or not. Make sure you go to misfitparade.net. We did just get hit up by an old-timey scammer to buy misfitparade.com. So who knows, in the future, maybe we won't be like 90s hackers and we'll have a .com, not a .net. But for now, misfitparade.net. I'm not sure where this is going to fall chronologically, but either we are in the middle of or we will be doing a crowdfunding campaign for our first feature film, Mr. Cream Jeans Hidey Hole. You can see my friend Pappy back there on the YouTube. He's the star of the first segment, already in the can. It's super fun. It's one of the weirdest movies that we've ever written and made. So we could use your help over there at misfitparade.net. Make sure you're checking out the video work I'm doing for Looper as well. So you can see me from the waist up talking about movies and people in the comments calling me the Jason Momoa you have at home. They're really on this riff. All right. We've dodged it as long as we can. We're here to talk about the final conflict. Now, I talked about Damien the Omen II is one of the best horror sequels of all time. I mean, almost an equal worthy adversary to part 1. Or not adversary, right? Apostle of part 1. They took out the kind of moral grappling that Damien had to deal with in this one. Sam Neill's just a full-on fucking goth kid smoking cigs by the dumpster and being a bitch.
Yeah.
The kills in this movie are so shockingly vanilla. That was kind of like the first like really rude awakening.
There's only like one that's not, and it's pretty uncool. So
yeah, and then like not only are the kills vanilla, but then they're just a lot of baby murders, like a ton of babies and kids getting murdered.
A lot of baby killings, which I'm like, infanticide's not something I'm into. I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those. So the setup of this movie is Damien now is just a guy who criticizes shitty commercials, and he gets appointed to his father's old job in the UK. You thought maybe that would matter. It didn't. But he says because there's this astrological event, and when the stars align, the Nazarene will be born, right?
Yeah.
Born as a baby, but immediately becomes a man. Neither here nor there. So he takes this post that his father used to have so he can go to Great Britain and kill a shitload of babies. Right off the bat, that's a hard fucking sell for most audiences, even horror audiences. Yeah, that is a hard sell.
So he like takes over Thorn Industries from the end of Damien. He takes over.
He's now the man.
He's the man. Like he's already a billionaire, and then he becomes the ambassador.
He's on his ambassador. He's on his way to running for Senate. He's only 32 years old.
By the way, the ambassador. So the movie begins with one of the most elaborate like kill me's of all time. I think
that's the one good kill in the movie.
Which is like this ambassador. The ambassador is like on his way out, literally.
Yeah, he gets mean mugged by a dog.
Mean mugged by a dog, looks himself in the mirror, and then takes the tape out of his like dictaphone, wraps it around, calls for a press conference at exactly 3:00, and basically booby traps the door.
Yeah, because he can't just kill himself. He's got to do it at the press conference he called. So when his secretary forces the door, the typewriter ribbon pulls and just blows his fucking head apart, which was so graphic. It's so and it's also one of those. It's not like it reminds me because when the nanny kills herself in part 1, you're like, that's not like a fun death, right? It's very aggressive and brutal. It's this young nanny, but it's got this kind of it's all for you, Damien. Like there's something about that scene that is more watchable. This one is just so fucking insanely mean,
fucking mean.
And, like, it doesn't, like, scanners his head. There's, like, a hole in his upper lip.
Yeah, there's a hole in the upper lip where the gun
and
went off.
It's just, like, a really mean, sad suicide. So it's one of those tonal things right off the bat in the movie. You're like, well, this isn't, like, a fun, hippie Final Destination. This is just mean. And then the movie kind of takes that, and you're like, oh, this is the mantra of the whole film.
Yeah. So... Okay, I wanted to get your take on this because, like, for me, look, I grew up going to church a lot. Like, I grew up going to Catholic church, and this is the thing that I don't understand about the movie. It's never sat right with me. Like, I saw this, I probably saw this first when I was a teenager, like going through the Omen series, but this never really sat right with me. By this movie's estimation, the return of Jesus to the world signifies the rapture. So that means this movie is about the end of the world, technically, correct?
Okay. So
this is a big problem I have with the movie.
Right? I think they didn't read their book right, which is weird because at the end they just do Hobby Lobby wall art.
Yeah,
all
they just
over
do Walmart art of like live, laugh, love, but Jesus stuff.
Yeah. So let's kind of take there's 3 problems at the core of this movie. One. Don't sell me on your Jesus is the best ending with your Hobby Lobby phrases when this woman's literally carrying her dead son out of
son.
We don't see her son wake up or walk. We see Jesus holding the son and then her, and you're like, that's like the 102nd kid we've seen murdered.
Yeah.
Right? There's a point when Damien is talking to his little his kind of Jesus statue. That you're like, oh, he does inappropriate stuff with that for sure, and he's just you let me kill 100 children instead of you and didn't raise a finger to help. And you're like, I think he got you there. Like, if this was an episode of Matlock, you'd just cue the, folksy banjo. Like, Matlock won the case. You let him murder 100 kids. Not only are you murdering 100 kids, there are children murdering the kids, right? Because they're part of the satanic cult. And then the other, like, one of the biggest qualms I have, so the 7 knives, right? Miguel's 7 knives or whatever they're called.
Seven knives in Megiddo.
Yeah, right, Megiddo, that's right. The plane where the battle will happen. So in the first one, he had to stab all of those daggers into Damien like a ritual.
Yeah, you got to like
In
ritualistically.
this one, they're like, if someone just kind of pokes him like he's an old-timey water balloon, he's dead. That's it. And so, all right, let's add a fourth problem. So we learned in the last movie that Satanists have no chill. They're not on the down low.
No.
The monks in this movie have even less. Also, if you think there's a chance you might have to go into battle with the Antichrist, maybe don't send the geezer squad. Maybe you should be training some fucking Catholic John Wicks.
Geriatric Hobby Lobby Avengers does not work.
The first guy who goes to kill Damien, right? He has his dagger.
Oh my God.
He's like, aha, I'll get him in the studio. Because he's like, this is when he'll be sitting still. And I was like, okay, maybe that is a plan. I thought he meant to like capture him or shoot him and then do the deed. This guy's walking like, whoa, whoa.
They are the worst avenging angels of Jesus. I'm like, I got to be honest, I'm rooting for Satan at this point. Like, he probably has a better crowd.
There are moments you keep watching and you're like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. So the guy's walking on this rickety catwalk. His plan is that Damien's sitting still in the chair, so he should tightrope it up. And I guess he's going to die from the heavens like a fucking monk, Macho Man Randy Savage, and somehow have the aim to plunge this thing directly into Damien's heart. Although by the end of the movie, we realize you just have to poke him anywhere. So maybe it would have worked. But the dude fucking trips walking. Damien's hell powers don't even protect him. He just trips. Swings on a rope and gets fucking lit on fire and plastic melted around him. And you're like...
Hat on a hat.
That's... interesting, but
we're just doing.
But now we're not even
doing
like Satan murders, right? Like Final Destination, Satan murders. Now we're just doing. It's almost like a Home Alone bit, like just an accidental, like whoa.
You're just like, well, all right, that guy died. The end.
And then the monks proceed to just be lamer and worse at attempted murder. It's kind of that's what I mean. This movie,
it's really frustrating.
And that. To talk about things we like about the movie, right? I think Sam Neill was an excellent casting.
Sam Neill's awesome.
He is doing a gargantuan amount of work to try to make this movie watchable. But I think when you take out the awesome kills and the moral quibbling, right? Now it's just a teenager by a dumpster fucking bitching at God and not wrestling with his place in the battle. The pacing problems of the Omen become so extrapolated in this one. This one is so unbearably slow at times. And so Sam Neill, as much as he tries...
I think the biggest problem with the pacing in this movie is how segmented everything becomes. Like, it's like whole blocks of movie that are dedicated to... Like, there's whole blocks of movie that are just dedicated to moving the movie forward rather than actually explaining what's going on. Like, I don't know how else to describe. Like, I know that's how movies work, but I don't know how else to explain it. Like, it's like they just want you to like. There's just stuff that gets you to get you to the next scene, rather than it actually mattering. There's just things that get you to the next scene. There's so much transitional filmmaking happening throughout the movie, like. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have anything. Like, I'll give you, actually, this is one example. This is the example I'd give. After the plastic wrap Avenger gets killed.
Is that what we're calling him now?
I don't know. Like, I just, it was just so stupid. Sorry. Okay. After that happens, the next day, Damien's driving into the embassy. He gets out of the car, walks in. The woman, who we find out, like, he becomes like romantically involved with this woman, the interviewer.
Yes.
The woman is waiting for him. Now, this is a key character in the movie. She's like waiting for him, like, oh, cool, here's a little scene, like maybe we'll get a little pathos like we did in Damien. It's like, oh, whoa, he's like kind of struggling with the fact he likes this woman.
He found love. Maybe there's like
exactly
like the
there's
some reason
love.
I don't want to mangle all of mankind.
She literally says She literally just says to him, "Oh, hey, can I do that interview again? Yeah, but I'd rather do it at my place. It's a little less dramatic." Cool. Scene end. I'm like, there is a huge opportunity there that got missed because, like, you just need to move the movie
He
forward.
starts bonding with her son, right? Like, he wants to be, like, as it's talking about sons versus sons and their kind of absentee fathers, the idea of Damien finding this woman and really bonding with their son and having to extrapolate out what that means as he's about to do all this, right? That seems like a good place for a Damien story to happen.
Great place.
And they just, because the last movie had the same problem, right? Where it's like, now we've got this like world hunger subplot and we've got military school. And like, it just was a little unfocused, but the movie was so fucking good, it could overcome that. When you take out those elements that add the depth,
there are so many,
we really are just kind of treading water and we don't see land anywhere, right? It's hard to keep in the stream of this movie. Because, again, because we have the plots of, like, astrology, Damien's assistant has a son, and that's just not really, like, well added. We've got the murder monks. We've got him dating. We've got him in his masturbatorium screaming at a statue. Like, there's a lot of chunks of this movie. And it's just, if the monks are going to be so ineffectual, right?
God
like,
damn. The worst monks.
It's hard to seriously say, like, where was the moments in this movie that I was supposed to, like, really latch onto? This was written to be the end of the franchise, right?
Yeah.
This is the end of it. It's over. Damien is defeated. And there's just, it doesn't feel like we're being propelled towards anything. We're just kind of meandering in a movie, and without the kills and the depth, you're just, all you do is, like, every time Sam Neill's on the screen, you're just like, thank God. And every time he's not, the movie just grinds to a fucking excruciating halt.
I think that's a great way to put it. Meandering is the problem with this movie. Like, it's just, there's so many good ideas that are being, like, injected into your plot, and you're like, oh, that's a cool thing. I can't wait to see that unfold. And you're like, never gonna unfold. Got it. Okay, cool. So I'm just strapping in for whatever.
The idea of, like, a shadowy organization of monks that are gonna, like, be essentially the anti-Satanists that we've seen in the first two movies. These, like, undercover Avengers. It would be cool to see Damien start to unravel and not know who's who.
I agree.
But instead, they're just like, I've got it. We'll trap him on a bridge where he's got 100 dogs to defend him. Like, what are we doing? What is happening? Like, why are these dudes not ingrained in the movie like the Satanists are?
Keeping Damien, like, fully intact. Like, I think this is the other thing too. Like, because if you really want to, for me, if you really wanted to play up this, if you really wanted to play, like, make it work the way that Damien works, is you do go back into that, like, oh, there is still this, like, little piece of human in him that, like, is gnawing at his soul. Like, if you really want to get into it, that kind of thing. Like when he does that, when he basically tells everyone, like, all right, let's kill all the babies in that big, like, Ivan Ooze Mighty Morphin Power Rangers thing.
All right, so that scene was rad, though. That Satanist Island.
No, it's fucking cool as hell.
That's, like, one of the cool scenes of the movie.
I'm not saying it's a bad scene, but I'm saying, like, to me, that's a signifier also of, like, this is a super cool scene. Like, I really I dig it. However, he's never not out of control. And I think that's a huge misfire, really, for, like, the characters. Like, this is a guy who, like, look, I'm sorry. In a movie that clearly is saying, they're like, oh, dude, evil will never reign. You're like, okay, cool. Then make the evil guy who's literally incarnate evil. Yeah. Why don't you give him a little unhingedness? Why not? Like,
there's this idea too, like, he is the Antichrist, right? So, as Jesus was kind of born of a woman, air quotes, right? And he was raised with brothers and sisters and a family. He was a human, and then later in life had his moment, like we saw in part 2, where he's like, "Why do I have to take on the burden of all this?" Right. That humanity element of Jesus is what makes him. That's why we have statues of him in all the churches, and not God, because he is like us. He is an aspirational human type of figure, right? Despite the, like, Holy Trinity horseshit or, you know, all that ambiguous stuff. Right. Jesus was a guy, right? He was a human. He walked amongst us. He helped us out. He helped the lesser of us, right? So there was something to it. So the idea that Damien as he grows, he just strips all of the humanity out. Feels like it's missing one of the main opportunities of, because he says that at one point, is that evil is as pure as innocence, right? True evil.
Yeah.
Great. I love that. But put that to the fucking test once in the movie. At no point does he grapple with any of this. Or there's even a moment in the film where I wondered if they were going to do something like they did with Bowie in The Hunger, right? Where as the Nazarene grew and he became more desperate, maybe he would start to manifest less human qualities, right?
Yeah, sure.
Something like there was just no.
Again,
like if you took the title off this movie, there's like large swaths of the movie you wouldn't even know what this movie was about.
But again, the movie's just called The Final Conflict. Like the only like postmortem did they put the Omen, the final conflict. Like the Omen tag was not originally part of it.
There's no conflict.
So
it's literally just a movie. It should have been like, the final meet and greet. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
Again, it's like I've been listening to this book. I've been listening to this book about the making of Dazed and Confused, and I'm like, oh, this is like what Richard Linklater would make if he made like a Antichrist movie. Like, just walking around with him, he's fine, like just living his life.
Yeah, it's
weird. I think there's the thing about the movie is there's so many missed opportunities of like cool things, like cool manifested stories that exist within the world that we aren't gonna see because for no other reason than just they're not going to be explored because we have to get to the end of the movie. Like, not even the concept of good and evil is explored, really. It's just like, I don't know, the guy's evil and he kind of has a girlfriend, but he doesn't.
You lose your ability to have an ethical debate when your movie centers around killing about 100 kids.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, once
let's get to the baby murders in this movie, right? There's a lot of things horror fans will put up with, right? Like, I've seen horrendous murders constantly.
Yeah.
The dogs and kids thing, just hanging a dead kid on the scoreboard is just not great, let alone a shitload.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even that first scene, there's clearly no baby in that carriage, right, that gets hit by the car.
Sure.
I get it, right? You can put the PETA thing. No babies were hurt during the making of this film. I get it, but you're telling my imagination I have to pretend that they are. Right? And that they're being murdered at the hands of other kids. How about the scene when he tells his assistant, he's like, you have to kill your fucking kid. He's the last one.
Dude.
That scene with the iron, because she sees like the ashy baby in the crib and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's funny. Whatever. And then she picks up the actual iron and you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. And later she like brains him with it and murders her husband.
Yeah.
But it's such a graphic, unfun. I think that's the thing of the movie is that none of these kills and the horror of it are very fun.
Yeah.
And so that is the trick of a horror movie, right? It has to be fun or we have to be invested. When you just are like, oh, we're just going to iron a baby, that's wrestling terms
mean.
they would call that cheap heat, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just why? Why?
The other like when they're on the hunt and he sicks the hunting dogs on the, the Hawkeye one or whatever you want, whichever one of the Avengers he is.
Yeah. Well, the other guy, he just like his horse got scared.
Yeah.
And he flipped over the rail.
Yeah. No, this one, I was like, there's an awesome opportunity to see something cool with like 100 hunting dogs just eating this guy. Like, whoa, cool. Yeah. Nothing. The next thing you do is
killing
he's like,
monks who just refuse to strategize.
Yeah.
That's fun. I can do that.
Fun. Yeah.
Right? Instead, you just put them in a grate under a castle and we just see their little fingies come out with like terrible lightning. Like what
is it just me, by the way, or like, okay, this is the thing again, I'm going back to this. I think that Catholics are woefully unprepared for any sort of scenario involving the Antichrist.
Yeah, I was like, what are you guys doing in that fucking golden
what
castle
have you guys
city?
been doing the whole time?
Well, we know one of the things they've been doing and it ain't preparing. You know what I mean?
True. Absolutely true.
Mea culpa, guys? Is it time?
Mea
finally?
culpa. Mea culpa.
We want to say sorry to the world for our lack of assassin preparations and that other stuff. That was also not
other stuff. Not so good.
That was also pretty bad. Perhaps we should have assassins for some of our own. That was pretty not okay, but the lack of it, like they can't, the Catholic Church can't hire fucking Joe Rogan to start
Seriously.
like a fucking MMA academy. Like, what are we doing?
I'm like, these are like, you couldn't have got like every single movie about like Catholic priests who also kill. I'm like, there's no secret Jesuit order that would just have these motherfuckers on standby, like just like 20 Catholic John Wicks waiting to come in. Like,
yeah,
no,
did it? Like, the Catholics were pretty involved in, I don't know, a crusade. You didn't just recruit any of those dudes.
They could not have picked the worst,
brother,
group.
The mountain, come here.
Yeah, that's it.
Your whole job is to train and lift the weight and pump the strong seed into these giant women for murder purposes. It is for the Lord.
Yeah,
I don't know why he's Nacho Libre now.
It is for
yeah,
the
they
Lord.
couldn't bring Nacho Libre into the fucking church
Honestly,
to be ready to fucking drop eagle eggs.
Infinitely more effective than the 7 idiots that were. I'm like, wait a second. So what we're waiting on here isn't the secret Jesuit order of devil killers. Instead, it's a bunch of fucking astronomy nerds who huddle around the Hubble telescope.
Call that one church in Brazil. The phone rings and they all have to unwrap their legs around each other's necks and they're like, "We're ready." It's like, yeah, hell yeah, dude.
Great.
They should have been calling in a Street Fighter squad. Like there's a monk in Russia, right? He's got nipple clamps in the water. He's like, "Whoa!" Like this
Absolutely.
was a great opportunity.
I bleed for Mother Russia. Yeah, absolutely. It was fine.
This was a great opportunity to do a Street Fighter squad of monks versus Damien, who's trying to have a girlfriend and be a good son to Satan. There's a good movie in here somewhere.
There's a good movie that just gets lost in, I think, moving a plot forward. I think that's the only way I can describe it.
It's not even, I don't even know if that's here's my biggest problem. We kill all those kids, right? We just discussed how much you're like, well, this is unfun and I hate it. The very next scene, after they iron that baby, the priest just goes, "Oh, it doesn't matter. We've already got Jesus out of here. He can't get him." And then Sam Neill's talking to the Jesus statue and he's like, "So I killed those babies for nothing." And you're like, yeah, we get it. God sucks. It's one of the hardest things to explain if you are a religious person is that's why we invented the phrase God works in mysterious ways. And you're like, really? God fucking sucks. Right? God wouldn't do all this evil shit. You're like, well, starvation for kids, childhood cancer, rapists, serial killers. He created all this. So you can't just pass the buck on Daddy Satan. He's responsible. He is the fountain with all this flows. So, yeah, is it shocking that 100 babies died for him? Yeah, 100 babies die every day in the world, dude. This movie's just rubbing our fucking faces in it. But for the movie to say it doesn't actually matter. So you add a subplot in where the assistant secretary, the assistant to the regional Satan, has a son on this foretold day. That character is so inconsequential to that movie. Is that our story? Is it him trying to battle with is he kind of a reverse Gregory Peck, right? Where he's like, I want my son to live. I'll give up my satanic beliefs because I love my son now.
That's the fucking...
Why does that not matter? None of
that was the thing.
The
first time I watched this, that was the one that I thought, oh shit, he's gonna have the Nazarene.
Yeah, we all thought his kid was gonna be the one, and that it would be this wrestling with your beliefs and take the religion out of it. I looked in the eyes of a son, and I found love, and that's my religion now. Also, so you could have had assassin monks, this guy grappling with that, Damien grappling with his own family while he's murdering all these kids. There were elements in the story, that could have unified and made a really cool finale
to make a really cool final movie.
Yeah, it was all there.
But they just sort of left them there. That's it. They just were there.
Literally just farts in the wind. That's this whole movie.
All right.
Oh, here's a possibly cool thing. It's okay.
It's not even. You don't even get a sound. You just get a. That's it.
Well, how about this? We get Damien and this lady. You're like, all right, is she our new Gregory Peck? Where she's grappling with, I found this man who might be good, and he's really good with my kid. My kid's really bonding with him. He rubbed priest blood on my son and gave him a boat. And now they're friends. And it's like, okay, that's an interesting dynamic, right? trusting someone with your son, right? Like this new, could we be a family, but I don't really know him yet. Could have been good. He tricks her into falling into a river that an old fish lives in just so he can save her, and then just have one of the grossest, most unnecessary sex scenes in a movie ever. And so again, instead of telling an interesting story about their relationship, we go for the cheap heat, and it's just like, let's throw like an assault in here.
Was that not like one of the weirdest things to hang in the movie? Is like, wait, we're going to do sex in this movie? Good God.
It's just like they're really running up the scoreboard of just like things I don't love. You've made dogs murderers. You've killed kids. Now you're adding the sexual assault of a single mother. It's like,
come on.
Can we get back to the fucking Wile E. Coyote monks? Like,
Yeah,
please,
like,
God.
anything.
Literally anything. It's just,
Can we
it's
get
one
back
of
to
those
the
movies.
Rube Goldberg death scenarios?
I
Like,
wanted
please.
one of those. We had none of those in this
One
movie.
of them.
I will say
One.
again,
The
the movie
closest
is
you
not
get is that
the movie is
ambassador.
not unwatchable because of Sam Neill. So we got to talk a little. His monologues to the Jesus statue are probably my favorite elements of the movie.
Oh, yeah, by far.
Because it's like he's trying to gas himself up because he knows he loses. Like, that's the other thing. If you read the book, he knows how this ends already.
Yeah, like, I think that's always the thing about this movie that's so weird to me is...
It's
yeah,
the other, like Christian
he
problem
loses.
is, like, God is all powerful. At any moment, Alanis can wake up from her skee ball body and just shut this shit down.
Yeah.
Like,
it's an omnipotent force. Like,
so there's
you're
something
just-
about Damien on this kind of, like, forsaken path.
Yeah.
He knows he's going to lose. And watching Sam Neill try to gas himself up, right? Try to do that. That's
that
some of the
first
stuff in
one-
the movie that is at least mildly engaging.
That first one, by the way, like, in the hands of a lesser actor would have been one of the worst monologues of all time.
I mean,
Like-
I'll say this. Like, his speech on the island, also metal, the writing is not good.
No.
Like, the writing is not on point, but he delivers it. It's almost like he's up there and he's like this
Again,
scared
it's
kid at an assembly.
It's
But
him.
then he added this, like, little actor's choice where he does this, like, almost like he's, like, taking big breaths. And then when he lifts his head up a little, it's like he closes his eyes so he can pretend that he's looking out at this, like, awesome hell army instead of just these, you know, taxi drivers and Boy Scouts.
Fucking dorks.
We hear you. It's fucking cool. And Sam Neill's the one who's carrying that. When he rubs his hand the first time on that Jesus statue,
I'm telling
you're
you,
like,
the first,
oh, man.
that first speech.
Okay.
I watched it twice because I was like, I want to make sure, because like that first speech is filled with such just nonsense. Like he just says stuff.
It's just,
like
like weird religious
it's
cliches.
just weird religious words and sort of like really dumb iconography, like saying just like words like desolation and Nazarene. I'm like, yeah, I get it, I understand. Like
Yeah.
if you really like,
It's
if you
everyone
really
at their
pay
first
attention to
S&M session they paid for. It's like, all right, we don't need the Hellraiser
Like,
dictionary.
if you really
Thank
pay
you.
attention to it, it's literally like it's like a kid, like it's like an 8th grader in Catholic school just writing words to get to the end of a sentence in an essay. You're like, cool, got it, that's fine. Like you're just finishing, you're getting your word count there. But because Sam Neill
You
is
just
so
found your
good,
first Clive Barker book. You're really taking it for a stroll. This is your personality now. I get it.
1,000%, like 1,000%, that's what this is. But because Sam Neill is such an effective actor, him saying these things, you're just like, all right, I can go with this. Like this is
No,
pretty good.
he was a wonderful
he's
casting.
really
And they
good.
always had good Damien actors. That's the strength of this franchise. The ending.
Jesus Christ, literally.
I kind of like the fact that he went to get Jesus without all of his followers. It's kind of lame.
I mean,
The scene when he's
beyond
like
that,
he's
though,
he's spitting at her son, and he's like, I was like, yeah, dude, yeah, and he's like, it's a trap. It's like, yeah, we know, fucking Akbar, we all know it's a trap. And Damien's like, no, it's cool. I'll go with no fucking henchmen because these monks are so lame. Which he was not wrong. Those monks do fucking
to be
suck.
fair, if you had seen those guys fail that many times, you'd be like, I'm good.
Yeah. He didn't think that, you know, Jesus might have something to say about all this. When he uses the kid as the human shield, you're like, that was a cool character moment. But again, it's like, do we need another fucking dead
need
kid
another
after we
dead
just
kid on the
watched this
scoreboard
lady
here?
get
Jesus.
raped? Like, good God, man. I don't know that that's what we wanted to see for her in that moment, right? Is that she's just fucking now holding her dead kid. I will say there might not be a less climactic ending in a horror movie ever than her just kind of and just poking him in like the shoulder blade, and he just walks and he's like, "You've won nothing, Nazarene.
You've won nothing, Nazarene."
And then all of a sudden it turns into Excalibur, and he's like,
"Yeah, that."
It's like a Righteous
so
Gemstone scenes where Jesse Gemstone just fucking
Excalibur.
hits the fog and the spotlight, and he's like, "What's up, bitch? It was me the whole time, and I'm a man, not a baby."
The first thing I thought when I watched, I was like, "Excalibur? Are we doing this?"
It's, dude, it's so fucking lame.
Again,
and he just falls, and Jesus is like, "Ha!" And then the word arts of like, "Don't worry, Jesus will take away the tears."
Jesus Christ.
And I was like, well, I think that's a lot of tears for 101 dead children.
Yeah.
You know, are you going to take away this lady's sexual assault? Like, it feels like you're not fixing shit. Also, if I remember the story
here,
yeah, I guess we're skipping the end times and we're just going straight to the like.
Well, that's what. Okay, but
Jesus
that's what I'm
in
saying.
the Technicolor code or whatever.
Jesus is back, so therefore I'm like, cool. So we're about to like the movie ends with the rapture, technically. Like,
but they skipped the rapture because the
that's what I don't
rapture should be
understand.
the beast ruling. I guess what they're saying in that commercial at the start of the movie is that we're already in the rapture.
Oh, we're mid rapture, so
Like,
none of us got,
which is
none of
weird
us got
because you're
called
like,
up.
I don't know, they're still doing like British rich person hunting and like driving boats around. It doesn't feel rapturous.
I really do like the idea that like we're mid rapture. Like, I guess none of us were good enough to go to heaven. Fair enough. Great.
Well, he even said that's one of Damien's lines I like because he's like, "Hell is the monotony of human existence," and I was like, "All right, that's kind of cool."
I'll give you that.
But then it's like, yeah, just like Jesse Gemstone Jesus and like the word art, and it's like I feel like
I'll be honest with
I feel
you.
like Damien was right, and none of us won anything.
I forgot that they like actually did like a Jesus body. I always thought it was just like a big bright light, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, like that's good. Like, let's not like put a face to it.
Probably
And I
could
was
have used that spotlight a wee earlier, but that's fine.
But then, like, holy shit, I forgot that there was like an actual Jesus, and I was like, oh,
Well, it's like, yeah, we've seen Satan throughout this whole franchise use very elaborate magiques to fucking kill a lot of people. You're like, Satan couldn't do like a classic Damien slips on a banana peel and falls down some stairs. Like, what are we doing here?
yeah, come on.
This was your
You
grand
can't Rube
plan,
Goldberg
God
this
and
one?
Jesus? This was the fucking plan? It's, we don't need to talk about this movie anymore. This movie, fucking sucks.
It's just
It gives us a
again,
really
like,
cool Sam Neill performance. Sam Neill is
There's
the great
all
underrated
these-
Scream King.
yeah.
He's got a lot of great horror movies under his belt.
There's all these great things
that's
in the
about it.
movie that just don't get explored, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is like it's just
There's
like
very faint, backlit, obscure fucking Jesus shadows of ideas that could have been cool.
There's just
Not
it's just
a one of them
movie-
lands.
It's just a movie of like farts that are hanging in the air, and you're like, were any of these
Yeah.
thought out? Or
If we didn't get Sam Neill, this is like probably the most tragic film ever made. Because I was thinking, I was like, we do this sometimes. Like, of all the third installments of franchises, this is pretty fucking near the bottom.
pretty bad.
Like this is one of the bottom of the barrels. It's just tough. I'll say this: I didn't know that this was going to be my take when we started the franchise.
I didn't either. I thought I was going to end up defending it, but man, is it?
I remembered liking it a lot more than I did this time. I'll tell you this: the Omen IV, The Awakening, kicks the dog shit out of this movie, and that I did not expect. Also, just warts everywhere, right? Just a horribly riddled body of pain and misery, but it's fun.
Holy shit!
And we will talk about it tomorrow. That's it for the final conflict. This is not our final conflict with the offspring of the devil. We've got 3 more movies in the franchise. And then we will go on to the X franchise and the Critters franchise. So lots more fun to come. I kind of hate this when we have to dunk on some installments. But, you know, we got a whole month of fun horror movies coming up. So
Sometimes
I hope
they're
you
not
guys
great. We tried.
at least had fun going back through. Sometimes you got to do it. You got to watch all of them and put them in the
Don't
context
call
of the
something
franchise.
the final conflict when, like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the final countdown to when the movie was over. That's what I would
Final conflict was the runtime. That was the
All right.
conflict.
That's it. We'll see you tomorrow. Make sure you go to Patreon.com/FilmAlchemistPod. Support the show. Get the 3 extra episodes that you want to complete the marathon. Make sure you find us on all the socials, including TikTok. Subscribe on YouTube, Film Alchemist. Email filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. Go to misfitparade.net and help us make a movie. Support what we're doing over there. Check out the video work at Looper, our friends at Looper. That would mean the world to us. More than anything, return tomorrow for yet another brand new adventure in the horror abyss.